wasn't that long ago that giving my testimony, I would have told all the good things in my life. I would have put the best face on my marriage and my family, and there's a lot of good things to tell. But today, my heart resonates with the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians when he said, I would rather glory in my weaknesses so that the power of Christ might dwell in me. I was actually blind to my true condition for many years, and I had what Andrew Comiskey calls a projected image of wholeness. The first time I heard one of our pastors describe the ministry of Living Waters and Cross Current, he said it was a ministry to relationally and sexually broken people. And doesn't that include about 99.9% of us? Well, I had a conscious thought when he said that, and it was, well, I guess I must be part of the 0.1%. I needed to see the true condition of my heart before I could be whole. I became a Christian when I was 13, and I loved God. But looking back, I see that I became a part of like a Christian bubble, and I really did not see myself in need of the cross. As a matter of fact, I thought I saw myself a little above the cross of Christ. The first time our church offered Cross Current to the congregation, I asked to be a part of it, and I remember coming to Cross Current and saying, as much as I know, I have dealt with sin in my life, and as much as I know, my hands are clean. But Lord, I give you permission to do whatever you want. And it was the first week and the first teaching that I heard the words, when we love people out of a need for love, we manipulate the people we love. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I saw myself there. I also heard that week the beautiful message of the unfailing love of God for me. Love and mercy that day began breaking up some fallow ground. My significance was really in the appearance of being a good Christian. More and more, I felt I needed to control that in order to secure that image. And the conflict in our marriage produced hours of arguing. I would feel it was my duty, my place to confront my husband, and he would react to me, and I would have hurt feelings. But I felt like we're going to stay with this. We can do this. We can get this under control. My children, I quickly dealt with things that came up where I saw a discrepancy between their behavior and this Christian image. I judged their intentions at times and confronted the wrongs, took control of situations for the sake of the appearance. Well, that was on one hand. On the other hand, I felt like I was responsible for all the wrongs of all of my family members. And it was almost as if I thought I could save them. So something was driving an intensity in my life to do right and to be right. I felt I could do this, except for one thing, and that was my weight. I could not reverse a trend of gaining weight every year. It was the one area that I felt the Lord was showing me continually that I was not in control. So my thought life vacillated between self-righteousness and self-criticism, and the pressure was breaking me down. I was becoming less and less about love all the time. I went to prayer meetings. I saw myself as an intercessor. I went to church regularly. I actually taught women's Bible studies several years, and my husband and I were small group leaders for many years. But you know, about 10 years ago, I had a rare moment of honest prayer when I looked to the Lord and I just said, I remember saying, Lord, can I even hear your voice anymore? Well, that brings us to 7 years ago with Living Waters in Kansas City. We were invited to go out to a conference, and I really had no clue that wounding early in my life was feeding many false ways, even religious false ways. I need to give you a little background to this story, and that is that when I was 16 years old, my mom left our home in an adulterous relationship with the pastor of our church. And he was a man that was like a mentor to me. I babysat his kids, I took piano lessons from his wife, and I genuinely loved this family. But our family response was not to talk about it. So during this time, we were very detached. My two brothers and sister and I. The only real relational continuity was with my dad and I. We talked every night during that time. But after 2 weeks, my dad found out where Mom was, and he drove all night to get her and to bring her home. I understand he physically put her in the car and said, "You belong with me." But you know, she did not really want to be home. She was miserable. She was a broken person. She felt tremendous condemnation during that time. And the Lord graciously brought a visiting minister to our home that week that she came home. And he stayed up all night and counseled her. And the result of that is that she went before the congregation that she had wronged the next Sunday, and she asked their forgiveness, and she was really restored to that community of believers and served there for many years. But you know, that's my mom's story, and that's not mine. And I got that all mixed up for a long time. So I am convinced that I could not have come to this area of healing in my life without the other women in my small group. I could not come to it on my own. I needed that company of women, that time of prayer, that small group that was quiet, and others were listening for me. I had written out my testimony previous to the small group time, and when it came to my turn, my leader asked me, "Is there something on your heart that you'd like to share during this time, you'd like to pray about?" And I really said to her, you know, nothing's coming up. I think I'm okay, but I'd love to be prayed for. And she suggested that I think about self-worth. And so I took that idea and went to think about it and thought about all the negative self-talk that I had at that time. And I thought, sure. So as I came to the group, I really thought when I sat in that chair that I was going to be looking at self-worth specifically. But as I sat down and closed my eyes, my leader said to me, "Let's go back to the time when your mom left." And I remember saying to her, as I closed my eyes, "You want me to go back there?" Well, the memories immediately started coming. I thought about the abandonment and the rejection and the neglect. And it was like this groan started from deep within and came up and out of my mouth with a sound to my ears that didn't even sound human. And I had emotion that I had avoided for over 30 years. It was like a dam burst, and I began to sob. I have no idea how long that went on. It was like wave after wave of pain that had to be brought up and out of me. And those women let me cry. There was no time put on that as I surrendered my pain to the Lord and to the cross. And after a while, that pain subsided, and underneath I saw like the culprit of it all. It was shame. Shame was a driver to many false ways of coping with life. And Jesus came to me in that time, and he revealed himself in that time of cleansing as the present one. It was like for the first time, my feet were on a secure foundation. It was the present one, Jesus, in my life. Well, it's taken me years to connect the dots of all this. I remember being so ashamed when my mom left. But the time after that, really our relationship was restored, and our family kind of returned to a kind of normalcy as my dad really invested in us. But that embarrassment of the good family gone bad was the shame that I felt at the time. And I remember thinking, now we are no better than anyone else. And to cover that shame, I devoted myself to being a good Christian. At age 19, I married with the intent on producing a good family. Well, I could not know that the Lord would allow a few of our children to lose their footing in the years to come, that would test this cleansing for me and further refine his work. Our marriage hit new lows that I could never have imagined. It's been important that I understand this pathway to the cross, to empty of the good false self and learn from experience how to walk in love, how to be grace-filled toward those who are stumbling. So I've got like a new purpose in life from this time, a newfound mission from this processing is for me to love God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love those he's put in my life. Anytime I have a hindrance for that, I know I need to go back to the cross, and God gets the glory for anything good. So now it's important that I walk in a company of men and women that I can be real with, and I have to ask myself often, what matters more to me, real wholeness or the appearance of it?